Right then, this is a quick walk around video. This is for a Honda Accord 2.4 EX automatic. Really lovely car, this one. 83,000 miles, fantastic history. Coming as a part exchange. The vehicle has one fault. That's the whole point of doing these videos. It's relatively minor, but it's why the car is substantially cheaper than it ordinarily would be. Basically, intermittently, the LCAS lane keep, whatever they call it, light pops on. You can drive for 5 minutes, you can drive for an hour, you can drive for a day and it doesn't come on, and then it will just ping on randomly. And you turn it off and it seems to go back on again, you know, but it is there, it is intermittent, but that is why the car is cheaper. So if you're phoning about the car, we respectfully ask that you don't try and sort of negotiate further down on the price, because the price accommodates that, because this is an awful lot of car for the money. It also has the radar cruise control. The car's lovely condition, lights and lenses are clear, intact. There's no cracks or condensation in them. Bonnet incredibly clean. Near side really smooth in the panel work, no sort of big indentations. For a 13-14-year-old car, whatever it is now, it is very clean indeed, and still such a handsome car. I have to say, these are one of my personal favourites, always have been. Round to the offside, driver's side, and lovely and clean in the panels there. I did see, I mean, it is minuscule. I'm trying to pick up anything I can. You probably can hardly even see it, I mean, but basically it's just a tiny blemish on the paint there, but I am being massively critical because the car is genuinely lovely. Coming to the boot area, absolutely massive boots, and it's been kept in beautiful condition, helped by the Honda load liner there. Coming to the back now, you see black leather interior. It's in absolutely beautiful condition. Coming on the front, again, what an absolutely fabulous condition there. Looking on the driver's side, again, very clean and tidy. The only way you got realistically inside the car, a tiny bit just there on the edge of the seat, but you could easily get that repaired if necessary. But again, the whole point of the video is to show what I can and where I can. So inside the car now, engine's running, so dashboard can be seen illuminated. See there, sat nav working absolutely perfectly. Pop the car into reverse, you got that lovely parking camera all working exactly as intended. It is fabulous. And then come up to the dashboard. Typically at the moment, of course, the light isn't on. And the only warning light on, if I scroll through, they'll show you there's fuel, and there's no other warning lights on at all. But it will, I mean, hopefully, it may do on the following road test videos, so hopefully it'll ping on at that time. But at the moment, as I said, it is intermittent, but it's not on there at the moment. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Accord 2.4 EX automatic, registered RE09KOA. Mileage showing at 83,597. The reason for all of the videos, and actually especially this road test, is to let people see the car in operation before heading off to see us. That way we can let you know of any issues with the car. And this is a prime example. This is, it's rare, very rare. People who've seen the vast majority of our videos know that most of the cars we've bought for stock, they haven't got any issues. The ones that have are few and far between, but that's the point of the video. And this, as I said, is a case in point. As I mentioned in the walk around video, it isn't on currently, but the LCAS light pings on and the steering lights at the same time, because it's all connected between the two. And it's intermittent. Sometimes you can drive for an hour and it doesn't come on. Sometimes you drive for a day, it doesn't come on. Other times you can start it up each time and it comes on. So it is a random thing. We did pop it to Honda. They did I think a wheel sensor on the back for us, which we needed doing anyway. But because it wasn't on at the time, illuminated as it was, then obviously they couldn't establish any fault. So typically of all these things, take it to garage, the light's never on when you want it to. Fundamentally we thought we've got a couple of choices. One, we sell the car at its full retail price, which is substantially more than it's been sold for now, but we get it repaired eventually. But then when I was driving it, I thought, you know what, it's just such a lovely car to drive it as it is. If someone wants to take it as it is, they can have it at basically cost price to us. It's well, a loss actually, but that's by the by. That's basically what we've done. So at the moment the car is offered as it stands, with the issue that intermittently comes on, but for an incredible price for what is an extraordinary car. The engine starts instantly, of course, and settles to a smooth, even idle. Apart from the light that intermittently comes on, there are no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car. But the engine is a stonking unit. One of the best four-cylinder engines ever made. It's keen to rev, it's smooth, it's gutsy in a way that you wouldn't expect of a VTEC, or people don't think of VTECs rather, because basically they think it's all top end, they've got very little torque. This one, you touch the throttle and it's keen, it's getting up, it wants to go. But when you do keep your foot down, boy does it want to rev. It just, I'm going to put my foot down now, not completely, but just sings through and then just keeps pulling. It's just like a catapult. It's a wonderful, wonderful engine. Cam chain driven, of course. They've got a reputation for being, one of the toughest, most reliable engines ever put into production. Same with the gearbox, beautifully matched to the engine, and like the engine, a reputation for being, in regular use, all but bomb-proof. Very, very strong indeed. And this one's a perfect example. All the functions work perfectly. The gear changes are smooth, the selection's smooth, no jolting, no jarring at all. Then coming to what I think is the best part of the car, the steering and the chassis. The steering tracks nice and straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But what a fantastic power steering setup. Beautifully weighted, millimetre accurate, totally confidence inspiring, and the chassis attached to it is, as I say, it's completely unflappable. It's capable of going cross country at ludicrous speeds if you wanted to, not that I suggest you do, but it's just such a beautifully engineered chassis, really is, and completely overlooked by the motor press, as I always said, and it is completely true. It's a thing of wonder because it still gives you a very compliant. It's kind of that sporty, firm but supple. That's the best way to describe it. It doesn't jar. Only kind of the sharpest ridges will kind of catch it out, as it would with any car. But going up this section of road, which is notoriously pitted and horrible, the bumps are there, you can hear the bumps there, but it's not jarring. It rides them very well. But when you go through corners, the car sits flat, it's poised. It's a thing of wonder. Also, no nasty clonks or rattles coming from underneath the car that shouldn't actually be there. It's all in good order. Brakes on the car, really, really good brakes. They're very powerful. There's no pulsing, no vibrations at all coming back through the pedal. Finally, coming inside, and I've always loved the interior of the Accords. They're really, really beautifully put together cars. This one's in fantastic condition in here, only a bit of wear on the driver's seat, which I show in the walk around section of the video. But it's a car you can get in, jump in, drive very easily. It's not overly complicated. All seems to be working beautifully. Sat nav there, dual zone climate control system which pumps out ice cold air, heated seats, all working, as is a hands-free system. Cruise control, auto cruise control, so it's got a radar, so if I try and speed up now deliberately, it's sensing the car in front at the moment and is not allowing me to go any faster than the speed I've selected, and that's all working exactly as it's meant to. Dash layout is your classic Honda, beautifully detailed. It just makes you feel very, very special when you sit in and drive the car, I have to say it's a wonderful vehicle. Steering wheel sort of leather bound, thick rimmed, feels absolutely fantastic in hand. It really, really does. As I said, I've always been biased. Anyone that's seen my videos, if you look at any 2.4 Accord video that I've ever done, that I tend to kind of go on and on and on about them. But it's for good reason, because I think that in this category, there are only a handful of cars which I thought were particularly good. Sporty sport saloons that could, almost like GTs, they could cover huge distances. I recently did a test against a IS250, and I think that's a very worthy competitor, as it happens. Other cars in its class at the time, which I thought were very good, would have been the Mondeo ST24 and the BMW 3 Series, of course. With chassis as good, if not better than this, in all honesty. But by the finest of margins, difference is that the BMW would rattle your teeth. The sportier versions that had, chassis that could compete with this one. The Mondeo was much better in that aspect. It's still very compliant, but they just fell apart, unfortunately. The BMW was nothing like as reliable as these in general use either. And then you looked at other makes and models, Audi A4, C-Class Mercedes, sportier Volvo things at the time. The Audi was just nondescript to me. It was dull to drive. It wasn't sporty at all. The C-Class was lovely, very smooth, but again, no kind of sporty pretensions at all to it. But these were kind of in a class of their own. And as I said, the problem is the Motor and Press had their firm favourites. Always did. The Germans in particular were, anything that came out of BMW, Mercedes or Audi at the time, regardless of whether it actually was as good, would always be lauded as better. But these have stood the test of time so much better than virtually any of them. They really have. Good. There we are. So LCAS light finally has popped on. That's good news in ways, because that's the whole point of the video, is to show it. So currently it's illuminated LCAS and the little steering light that comes on with it. If you press the information button, you don't have to have it on the screen. It still shows on the panel there, but doesn't affect the drive of the car in any way, shape or form. But I'm thoroughly glad it came on, because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who wouldn't believe that the light even existed. But so the whole point of the video was to show it coming on, and finally it has, so that is good. Any questions, as always, don't hesitate to give us a call.